Can you guys hear me?
Welcome, guys, to another episode of The Way of the Other Dragons. Tonight we're going to talk about martial arts and health, which we promised like 2 weeks ago and we couldn't do because some of our members here couldn't join us. So anyway, we're finally back to this topic, and Amy's back, so please welcome her.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, hi, Amy.
And, okay,
Yep.
and one of our members who rarely joins us, but like he's one of our most valuable members, Jeff is here too. Jeff,
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey, Jeff. Welcome
Hi,
back.
Jeff.
Yep. And the
Glad to be
person who, yeah, and the person who acts as our backbone, he's here too. Tim, welcome.
Yeah, hi, everybody.
Anyway, so I can't say much about this topic. Don't have any idea about health benefits except like I get a lot of exercise. So I'm guessing Amy's the expert here. I'm going to let her take it away.
For me, the best health benefit of martial arts is it helps me with my depression. I suffer from major depression, and for me, it's pretty much biochemical. I live a really happy life. There is no reason for me to feel depressed other than there's just something wrong with my brain that makes me feel depressed. And nothing fixes that like the martial arts. And I know everybody says, yeah, exercise is good for depression. It's not just exercise. I swim. I love swimming. It doesn't treat my depression like the martial arts. I play soccer sometimes. I love that. And it just doesn't treat depression like the martial arts. And I think it's just the psychological component as well as the physical of just beating the crap out of another person without actually injuring them. There's pain, of course, but pain isn't necessarily injury. And having that intensity and having that bond with another person that you can hit each other really hard or grapple them really hard without actually hurting them. There's just nothing like that. And that's just amazing and awesome. And that treats my depression like nothing else. There's other benefits, but that's, for me, that's the most important one.
Right. That was very insightful. And I noticed something you said, swimming. So, like, do you regularly swim, or like, do you just like swimming and maybe you don't get a chance as much?
I actually haven't had a chance to swim hardly at all the last couple of years. I have a swimming pool in my backyard, and I used to go out there every day and swim for hours. But now that I'm working more than I used to, and that I'm training all the time, we haven't even set up the swimming pool for the summer the last 2 years. Maybe next year we'll be able to, but I just haven't been able to swim. But I also haven't really suffered from depression for the last few years. But before that, when I wasn't working as much as I am now, and when I wasn't training as much as I am now, because I train an insane amount, I was swimming a lot and I loved it. It was joyful, but it just didn't treat depression. Not like martial arts.
Okay, so swimming is the cure for depression. That's what I heard. Anyway,
There's a lot of others. I mean, I have some long-term, I have some permanent injuries that were fixed by doing Aikido. A lot of the joint locks and things, when done properly and not done to actually beat someone, but done in training a little more gently, and when you tap on time, that stuff actually fixed my wrist and my ankles. I'm not sure how Aikido fixed my ankles, but it did. And my shoulder, I have a permanent injury in my shoulder, and Aikido helped that the very first night. And also when I started doing Kobudo, started doing weapons, the Joe Kata, Ufushiku Joe no Ichi, fixed my shoulder right up, and it's been loose ever since. And I'm also now learning Ufushiku Joe knee, and that's fixing my bad knee. It's incredibly therapeutic.
Amy, you're cutting out.
Ah, did you catch what I said, or do I need to repeat?
No, it's okay. I mean, we heard most of it. Some bits were, I mean, missed, but we get it. Anyway, Tim's been sitting silent for a long time. What are your thoughts on the matter? I mean, let's start with what do you think about it?
I'd like to start, or to continue with what Amy said about martial arts being helpful with depressions. I think the comparison to swimming is in my view, highly meditative because you're doing the same motion over and over again for hours, swimming forward, backward through the pool. In martial arts, you have interaction with other human beings. You have to actually have physical contact. You have the psychological side of contact with other persons. So this is highly beneficial on many different levels. The positive way of beating the crap out of each other is highly beneficial in the output of hormones like dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. So yeah, it helps your body on so many levels. The thing Amy said about her shoulder, the Joe Cutter helped the shoulder joint to find its normal range of motion. Yeah, martial arts are highly therapeutical in that case. I think most of the orthopedic problems can be fixed with simple martial arts training. A lot of judo guys in their 70s don't have back problems because they are still rolling, they're still keeping the back mobile, so that's beneficial till very old age.
I heard my teacher say that training in any kind of grappling will result in injuries. I mean, even if you're really careful, it will cause injuries because it's that dangerous. So, I mean, if you're rolling with someone every day, aren't you bound to get more injured? And like being injured over and over again, isn't that gonna show up in the long run?
It depends on the style of training you're having, I think. If you really spar hard or roll hard, refuse to tap before you really damage the joints or the ligaments or muscles. So if you're doing that way, yeah, you get hurt on the long term. But I think when you get older, you just know, okay, here I'm fucked. I tap. I'm done here. Resistance is only going to hurt my body, so I'm avoiding injury and tapping early.
I almost said resistance is futile, but this is a conversation that I had with Eric Sensei recently because I mean I'm practicing all these different styles, and the jujitsu is starting to get pretty rigorous for me. And we were talking about my longevity in training because my goal is to be a really good fighter when I'm 65, and then to carry that as far into my old age as I can. And I told him I don't think I'm going to be able to do jujitsu much past 65. And he's like, "No, you can. You need to. It's really safe. It's really soft, and it's rigorous. Yes, it's taking. I mean, it's taking a lot of cardio and it's taking a lot of muscle strength. But he said, but it's really safe. And if you keep rolling into your 70s and 80s, that will help you do your other styles into your 70s and 80s. So he said, plan on doing jujitsu as long as you can plan on doing it well into your old age. That will help you do everything else that you're doing. I also want to say something about tapping late. When I was doing hardstyle Kajikembo, we were in our 30s and we were young, we were strong, we were buff, and we were tapping really late as a macho thing. And my Sifu had to pull me aside, and I was training with very large men, and we were beating the crap out of each other, and I was kind of getting the worst of it because I'm a very small woman. And so my Sifu pulled me aside and said, "Hey, Amy, I'm glad you're really enjoying training with the big guys, you're having fun, and you're strong and tough and everything. But you guys need to start tapping a little bit sooner, or otherwise, when you're in your 50s, you're going to be arthritic." And he said, Robert, who was my main training partner at the time, he was a black belt in Aikido. And so he said, when Robert goes to Aikido, he's getting healed there because it's a soft style and it's very healing. You're not doing anything to get healed. You're getting the worst of this, and you're the smallest because you're the smallest, and you're not doing anything to heal your body. So I want you to start doing yoga and Tai Chi with me. So that's actually what started me doing yoga and Tai Chi. And little announcement here, I just got my teaching certificate in Tai Chi last night, which was totally unexpected. I'm shocked and thrilled, and now I feel like I have to start taking the subject really a lot more seriously. I really got to invite people on this. I talk about it for sure because I have these experiences, but now, oh my God, I'm going to be teaching. Now I'm really excited about this subject.
It's gonna be awesome.
I'm like so happy to hear all about this because it just makes you think that as a martial artist, I mean, you could go really, really far. Like, I mean, how do I put it? Like, I mean, since my childhood, I always used to think that I don't want to keep learning in my life forever. I want, like, at some point, I want the learning part to end, then I can, like, move freely. But whenever I'm doing martial arts, and, like, sometimes I think that this is also a kind of knowledge. So I'm still learning, but I mean, I'm enjoying it. This is why I, like, really love martial arts.
Can we get Jeff here? That's I am talking the whole time. I'm going to hear what Jeff has to say about this.
So like not advice. So when it comes down to like health and martial arts, it's awesome. There's so many different styles. So I feel like there's nothing negative to say about it unless you are overdoing it. Because you can overdo anything really, but if you're just being healthy and being right, you're just gonna have all the benefits of that. Flexibility, endurance, strength, coordination, you got the whole gambit. But if you go up into like a pro level of being a martial artist, of being in competition, you do see negatives being you just see them more often due to hardcore training, crazy diets, injuries during matches. But other than that, I've used martial arts for weight loss, for rehabs, for when I tore my ACL or both of my ACLs. When I'm doing stances, doing kata, that's like the hardest thing to do when your knees are broken. But holding a horse stance, holding any type of stance, oh man, that increases your strength so much and your balance and your stability. So that's helped me a lot. But with stress too, I noticed and experimented if I go to work and I work retail, so if I go to work and work with customers and clients, whatnot, I get a little fried in my brain. I come home not in the greatest of moods, but if I go to work, go train, and then come home, I'm like the happiest guy in the world still. So I do love using martial arts when it comes down to keeping my head balanced and keeping my body right.
Cool. I have a bad ACL. It's not torn. It's stretched out. Like a rubber band if you stretch a rubber band too much. But it's not torn, so I can't get surgery for it. So I just have to try to keep it as strong as possible, and kata is the best thing for that. And the Fushiku, the second of Fushiku is just crazy therapeutic. Like I've been learning the kata off and on for actually almost 2 years now. We pull it out, work on it for a couple of classes, and then shelve again for whatever reason for another like 6 months. And so every time, the last few times we pulled it out, it's like, oh my God, this is amazing on me. So now I'm going to really try to finally learn it, finally commit to memory. It's not officially a part of our system. I think that's why we keep shelving it, It's Eric Sensei is a kata collector, and we come from a long line of kata collectors. So there's a lot of kata in our system that aren't actually officially a part of the system. We don't need for rank. So I think that's why we've been shelving the second Fudikyo. But now that I realize how amazing it is on my knee, I don't want to shelve it anymore. To finally get it, to finally, and I have about 3/4 of the kata committed to memory. I need to get the last quarter, and that way, anytime my knee is bothering me, I'll out and do it.
Yeah, knee injuries are the worst.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you have any kata in particular for ACL?
Not really. Um, I want to stick to doing basics when my ACL is repairing because it is so mentally I'm terrified to make any movements without feeling like my knee's gonna break. So I
Yeah.
go straight to the basic. In Shotokan, freestyle karate, ours is kata each, just kata number one, the most basic form you'll ever see. I'll do that frontwards, backwards, um, slow, fast, and just play with it, but stay on the straight and narrow of being very basic. But right now, I currently I'm past doing just katas now. I'm able to kick. Um, I actually sparred with a guy 2 nights. No, it was last weekend. It was last weekend. He was from his name is Ahmed. He's from Iraq, but he does like
Oh wow.
straight up Taekwondo, and he saw me kicking the pads, and he wanted to, not really spar, but throw kicks and techniques. This guy's like 6'3", and his legs are long. And so we went at it for like 5 minutes, just swinging our feet around, moving. My speed was gone, and my confidence was gone due to, if I take a wrong step, I feel like I'll snap my knee in half. But I
Yep.
was able to keep up, and this guy's a really good practitioner of Taekwondo. So it was fun. So hopefully by next month I'll be able to get a little faster on him.
At this point, the only person in the world that I'm comfortable sparring with is Eric Sensei, and he's kind of teaching me how to step and turn and throw kicks in a way that will not strain my ACL because it just cannot hold my knee together. And I don't know if that's the same as you, Jeff, because you've had the surgery and you're rehabbing from surgery. I can't actually have the surgery because it's not torn. So it's deficient. I just have this deficient ACL, and the best thing I can do is try to keep my knee muscles strong. And there are times
Hmm.
when everything I'm is absolutely fine, and I turn the wrong way, and the integrity of
Oof.
my knees collapses and I fall down. And there's not really at this point there's not even really any pain involved. There's no pain warning me that's about to happen. If I'm really super thinking about it, yeah, I can feel it before it's going to happen and adjust.
Hmm.
But it's really kind of frustrating. It's really kind of scary. And there was one time I was doing kata right after I had that cold from hell, and I was sick for like a month, and so I had a lot of muscle atrophy, and I was just doing kata. I stepped it through a punch, and my knee just collapsed. I fell down, and I really don't want to do that in the middle of sparring. And my knee strength is pretty good right now, but I'm having to learn how to step. I have to if there's any kick, most kicks require like a pivot. I can't pivot. So what
Hmm.
I have to do is put my foot in place, the final position when I step before I put weight on it, and then open my hips as I kick, and that gives me the proper amount of torque or whatever to throw the kick strong. But I'm still in the process of retraining my body how to do that. And because of that, Eric Sensei, he has exceptional control, and he's the only person in the world that I feel comfortable sparring. Rolling on the ground, I don't have that issue. So I can roll with anybody and I feel perfectly safe. But stand up, only Eric Sensei. I don't at this point I don't want to spar with anybody else.
I definitely understand. I on my left knee, I tore that in 2016, and it was torn for a year. And during that whole
Oh my
time, I was
god.
still training. I didn't, yeah, I didn't know it was torn, and being a guy, I was like, yeah, I don't need it. I'll shake it off. No, it was it was destroyed. It would swell up every now and then, but really no real pain in there. So I did notice I couldn't sprint. I couldn't take sharp turns. I couldn't spin. I could still, jog. I could still do front flips and back flips. I could still do things like that because my legs are strong enough to stabilize myself without feeling like I was going to break my knee. But sparring, I had to change up my whole game because I used to be very flamboyant and I moved a lot and I loved to kick and I loved to showboat when I was just playing with the guys, just sparring around. But I couldn't do that. I had to really learn how to focus on almost learning how to just straight box when I'm fighting someone, which was good for me because now I got my hands and my head control a lot better. But I had to switch up my whole fighting style just because that one ACL was gone. But as soon as I healed from that, I was back to what I was doing beforehand. But yeah, you really do have to switch up and think every step before you take it because it'll give out and it'll slip on you.
Yeah, and that
Yeah, knees
sucks.
would like the worst, like they're the worst design thing in the world. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's no fun.
We are changing my sparring style to more boxing, and um, Eric Sensei wants to do that for himself as well. Um, just because that's what you see around here in the Boise area more. Most people box, and if you get attacked by somebody on the street, and if they have any skill, it's most likely going to be boxing skills. And so Erickson said for himself, he wants to change his own sparring style to more boxing. And the fact that I want to do the same thing because of my ACL really works well for both of us. So
Hmm.
that's actually kind of cool. I'm enjoying it. We've kind of taken
Oh yeah,
a
it's
little time off from sparring just because we're in the heat of the summer right now, and we train outside,
hmm.
and it's
Oh
pretty
yeah.
hot and miserable. So we've actually decided we're gonna stop sparring until mid-September, and then we'll pick it.
Oh yeah, it's boxing is a lot of fun. I used to train it at like Title Boxing and went through methodology and like all that stuff, which is cool. But actually doing it, it's boxing someone. It's a blast, I think. Not having to worry about someone's legs. But when it comes down to like a street fight or whatnot, and you're going to be using boxing, if you have bad knees, that's the way to go.
Yeah, the way that I would get attacked as a woman, I'm not gonna get monkey danced. No man has ever challenged me to a fight on the street. That's just not what happens. I'm 5'2",
Hmm.
and now I'm middle aged. I mean, who is going to challenge me to a fight? Absolutely nobody. If they beat me, they just beat a middle aged woman with a bad knee. Who cares? If I win, they're just beat by a middle aged woman with a bad knee. So they have
Yeah,
everything to lose and nothing to gain. Nobody is going to challenge me to a
exactly.
fight. But
Nice. Yeah.
but the other kind of assault still could happen to me. And that kind of assault, the way women get
Hmm.
assaulted, is up close. Men con their way into our space and grab us. And so
Oh
this
yeah.
kind of long kicks, that's almost useless for me in a street fight anyway. It's just not, doesn't even need to be part of my repertoire. Boxing skills and stand-up grappling skills, and then of course the ground fighting skills. That's what I need, and so that's what I'm training for now.
Definitely. That's awesome.
We lost Tapa on the way. He said he will be back. Possible.
Sounds good. Sounds good. But yeah, so health and martial arts, I highly recommend anyone, especially if they're already injured and they want to get back at it and go at a slower pace. Soft style martial arts do help out a lot. And actually, I know of an older guy here in Kansas City. He's 63, 62 right now. He is the nicest man you'll ever meet and the most positive guy you'll ever know. But he's it's hard for me to spar him because he's so fast. He kicks so well. He punches so well. He has so much experience. He comes from doing Taekwondo way back in the 70s and 60s, and he's been doing martial arts his whole life. And you see it in him because he's just like if you watch anime, he's like the old super fit guy. Or if you watch any martial art movie, he is like the old sensei that's still really ripped because they practice what they preach every day. And I can only hope to aspire, to be like him when I'm like 60, 63, 64, if I'm still kicking people in the head. But I do see it a lot in martial artists, even if they don't look in shape. I know my friend's dad did taekwondo his whole life. He's I would say he's obese, and I remember one day we are in the back getting ready for an actual match, and he was back there, giving us positive vibes, uh, telling us jokes. He's like, "Man, when I was your age, I used to kick people in the head." And he looked at a punching bag. He turned to it, roundhouse kicked it right in the head, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, you still got it." I was like, "Oh man." All right, and that pumped me up for my match. I'm like, "Yeah, if he could do it, I'll do it." But no,
I
it's
got
it's
those.
good for health.
Okay, cool. So one night I was in Tai Chi, and there was this older man looking in, and my friend Jeremy, who was leading the class that night, Sifu couldn't be there that night, so Jeremy kind of waved him in, and this old man bent over. He was walking really stiff, and I could see under his coat that he had a really severe back brace. And Jeremy knew him and greeted him. His name was Charlie, and he's this like old Hapkido master. I can't remember what his rank is, and he could barely walk. And he goes to shake my hand, and then he just puts me into like a wrist lock, and I'm like, oh my god, it was amazing. And then he was like, hey, throw a punch at me. I'm like, I'm going to regret this, but okay. So I threw a punch, and he did a couple things and got me down on the ground. And Jeremy said, by the way, Charlie has broken back. He can do all that with a broken back. And that's when I realized how severe, it wasn't just like a normal back brace. I mean, this was like two heavy pieces of plastic compressing his back and his chest. And then he's like, turned to one of the younger guys, you tried to do something. And I obliged and threw a punch at him. And he pulled out like this huge karambit. It's like 7 inches long. And I mean, it's so long. It was like, do you have a permit for that thing? It's clearly illegal without a permit. He's like, oh yeah, I have a enhanced concealed carry. I can carry this. And I'm like, dang, I feel sorry for anybody who thinks this is some doddering injured old man who can barely walk until he does something. Until you threaten him in some way, or in my case, I think he just shook my hand. Hi, I'm Amy. Nice to meet you. And he locked my wrist and put me down. Obviously showing off, but yeah, I feel sorry for anybody who thinks that this really old guy who could barely walk is going to be an easy target. He'll cut them before they have any idea what happened.
Dang. That'd be cool to meet someone like that.
Yeah, so that's
still
kind of
beneficial for his health.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think he broke his back doing martial arts. I don't know how he broke it. If he told me, I don't remember. But it's just the fact that he, despite having a broken back, can still do this and is still strong and is still quick and mobile, even with a broken back. And he hadn't had surgery yet. He was getting surgery the next week. So he hadn't even really begun the healing process yet. I know, right? That was awesome.
That's nuts. That's cool though.
Do you
If I can,
guys have any? Yeah, Amy.
oh, I was just going to tell one story about my shoulder. It's not a martial arts injury. It happened while I was doing kempo, but it tore at home, not while I was in class, and that's why I had to stop doing Chinese kempo 20 whatever years ago. But it's a permanent injury. It's never getting any better. And there were times when it freezes up really bad. Like the years I wasn't training, my shoulder just got really inflamed, and it froze up really bad. And then Brian Sensei convinced me to start training again. And so it's my first night in Aikido, and he put me in an armbar shoulder lock, and we both felt and heard this pop in my shoulder. And looked at me like, oh my god, are you okay? And I went, yeah, you just broke through all that scar tissue. I'm free.
Ooh.
For the first time since the last time I was training, my shoulder is free. And it's been free ever since that night that it broke through. And again, that kata, the fushiku, has really helped. All the aikido has really helped. And I actually tap out late on that shoulder because I want the stretch and want the scar tissue to be broken down. So I warn everybody, I'm going to tap out really late. It's going to feel like you're hurting me. You're not going to hurt me. I will tap long before I feel any injury, but I want that stretch and I want the scar tissue to get broken. And so people, get me in that armbar lock. And I'm like, okay, keep going, keep locking it out. And to them, it does feel like, because they feel that the scar tissue is about to tear, and they think it's the muscle, and they freak out, like, oh my god, I'm gonna let your shoulder go. You're not tapping, but I'm letting go. I'm like, no, that's not muscle. You're not tearing the muscle. You're not injuring me. You're breaking down the scar tissue, and that's exactly what I want. I know when to tap. I will tap long before you injure me. And some people actually take me up on it and will keep rolling my shoulder forward until I tap, and they're like sweating bullets the whole time, thinking they're about to hurt me, but they aren't. So that is the only time that I really tap late, because I want to stretch, and I know that I will tap long before they're gonna actually injure me. But it's totally therapeutic. This is the best I've felt in years, and it's from all the different martial arts that I'm doing.
If you go to a therapist, it would be the same motion or the same stretch.
Yeah.
So why go to a therapist when you can go to martial arts training and have a lot of beneficial side effects?
Yeah, for fun therapeutic way. Sense.
Yeah, definitely.
We have people in the Tai Chi class that are really pretty old. We have a guy, I think he's like 83 or 84, and he has some serious injuries to his shoulders. He can't raise his shoulders higher than his head. It's the muscles are too badly damaged. He'll never be able to do that again in his life. But he has all the other benefits from Tai Chi, and the fact that he's able to do what he can do is amazing. And he does get all the other benefits, keeping himself loose, and of course the mental benefits and the social.
I really think that our medical system should resort more to martial arts training. Not on the fighting aspect, but the way you move, the way you use your muscles, your joints, is highly recommended by any therapist. So.
Oh yeah, when I started to try to take rehab for my knee. I went to a place where they did physical therapy, but it was mainly for the older demographic. So I was in there doing some knee workouts or some electrotherapy while I was watching a lot of older people do their physical therapy. They actually have machines to put your hands on to do the same motions as you would do as if you were doing Tai Chi or if you were doing like circular blocks or things like that. So they're spending a ton of money to put their hands in these machines and to do this work that you can easily do by doing, forms and martial arts. It blew my mind. I was like, they don't need to do that. They can just go out and do it on their own. But yeah, it's crazy.
That's a very big problem in physiotherapy. All these machines we use have, compared to do this motion on your own, have a very bad outcome in motor learning. So there are studies that say it's almost useless to use these machines to regain any range of motion or strength, coordination, anything. Just do it without it. It's much
Yep.
better.
When I was in therapy for my knee after I got injured this final time that finally damaged my ACL, But I didn't do a lot of machine work. They only had a few machines, and it was mainly the physical therapist and me playing games.
Hmm.
And he, when I finished my therapy, he gave me a list of exercises for me to do at home on my own. But then he said, you know what? Honestly, just do your kata. That's the best
Yeah.
thing. If you're having problems, then do these exercises that I've prescribed for you. But you're going to have more fun doing your kata anyway. It's just as good, and it'll help you progress on your goal, on your martial art goal. So if you find yourself short for time, just do your kata.
Yeah, micro training. That's this thing for rehab. Do every now and then a little kata or squats or anything. Just do something. Just a little.
It does help. Even at work when I'm standing around, there's nothing to do. I'll do squats, push-ups, roundhouse kicks, because there's literally no one in store but my coworkers, and they already know what I'm doing, so I don't have to explain myself. But yeah, if I didn't do that, oh man, I would be in much more pain. Uh, yeah, see, every time I do like a long, usually when I do go train, I like to train for at least 2 hours to where I'm doing calisthenics, lifting, hitting the bags, and spar a little bit. But I take my time because I'm trying to regain more strength to be able to do more. So like between lifting and doing like calisthenics, I'll walk around and just stretch and just try to get the splits and put a lot of stress on my legs, as in, trying to keep my knees bent, walking around. At the end of those 2 hours or hour and a half, I'm tired, but I'm not in pain because of all the endorphins, all that, I'm in a good mood because I'm doing martial arts. I don't feel sore until after, that adrenaline wears off. I'm like, oh, I gotta ice this thing. But how I stave the pain off, how I forget that I'm injured, is when I'm training. Because if I'm not training, I am very aware that my knee is in constant pain. Not 100%. But when I'm training, I have to remind myself, oh, I shouldn't do this because I'll hurt myself. But I don't feel it. It just keeps everything. I'm just stay positive when I'm training, so it just feels better that way.
Everything feels better when training.
Yeah. Exactly. And
So
that's
in
actually how
Aikido,
I met my. No, go ahead.
oh no, finish up.
Honestly,
That's
that's
how
how
you
I
met.
met most of my friends I make is during training because everyone's in such a good mood and it's easier to connect too.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Hence
you
that depression
already have
thing.
connected on you already have connected on the physical level, so it's much easier to talk to other people.
Oh yeah,
Beating the crap out of each other
So
on a friendly way is a good icebreaker.
it is actually for some reason. Like I've hit my friends more than I've hugged them, but that's how you know you're good friends.
well, that's a whole nother issue for me. Being a woman who trains almost exclusively with men, and there isn't really a lot of hugging, and there are
Uh,
these like weird boundaries that we don't touch each other affectionately or even casually, except the occasional bro hug, but we beat the crap out of each other. It's just really weird. I
it
can
is.
hit you, but I can't hug you. Huh.
No, we used to.
So,
I had this lady that came into when I was teaching classes. She'd only come in to spar, and she was all about sparring, but she was like maybe late 40s, and she was tiny, and all she did was taekwondo her whole life. And it was basically, I'm not saying I'm a big guy, but my other teammates, they're huge buff dudes, and she just all she wanted to do was spar them. And yeah, so it was really awkward for everyone at first because she wasn't wearing a chest guard, so if we punch and then missed and hit her in the chest, we're like, "Oh, we're so sorry." Like, like the whole session would stop, and we'd all like get on our knees. We apologize. But eventually that wore away. We got our chest guard, and we stopped being so little boyish about it, and started, because she actually wanted to fight. She was really intense about fighting, and I was like kind of scared. But yeah,
Yeah, if she's
there's some
been
weird
sparring, if
boundaries.
she's been fighting, yeah, if she's been sparring her whole life. That's those kind of boundaries are gone. And
Hmm.
it's one thing in jujitsu in particular when I train with a new guy. It's like you can touch me. It's okay. I've been doing this for a long time. Yes, I'm beginner in jujitsu because I haven't been doing that for very long, but I've actually been training for a long time. Touch doesn't bother me. If you accidentally brush something, I honestly I don't care. I'm used to this. And
More worried about getting choked.
so
That's yeah. So yeah, I've grappled some women that are really strong that I didn't care what was going on, because if I let my guard down, I was gonna die. So it was, I mean, my fear wasn't from touching, my fear was from getting killed. And I met a champion. She was from Brazil, a jiu-jitsu champion. I forgot her name, and I looked her up. She's really awesome, and she's really good, and she looks like she couldn't hurt a fly. But I watched some of her matches, and she just destroys people. It's amazing. Yeah, I don't want to get caught in that.
I'm not at that level yet. Maybe someday. Maybe when I'm 65, but I'm not there yet. It's usually in the drilling. When we start class, we do like passing drills, and
Mhm.
before we start rolling live. So that's when the guys are like, "Oh, I don't want to touch you." I'm like, "No, dude, I'm okay." Once we go live, it's all bets are off. I could tell stories, but that's not what this episode is about, so I won't. But one story I can tell on topic is we had this guy start Aikido. His name is Sammy, and he's this big, huge blacksmith guy, and super strong. But he was thrown from a horse when he was 20, and his hips
Ooh.
just are not quite right. And you know how a lot of really just big, strong guys are not flexible? They're huge, but their muscles kind of freeze them in place. And
Hmm.
that's kind of what he's like. He's big, huge, super strong guy, but he doesn't have much flexibility. And the short time that he's been doing Aikido, he's been gaining it. And I talked him into going to Rory Miller's seminar last month, and he was ground fighting with one of the guys, Hannes. And I'm not exactly sure what Hannes did to him, but he cracked his back and like fixed it. And you'd hear like this huge
Ooh.
crack. It's like, oh my God, my back. Oh my God, it's better. Thank you, whatever you did.
Like, what did you
And he,
do?
and so he gets up, he stretches a little bit. It's like, oh my God, my back feels great. And it was a little bit sore from
Yeah.
because a lot of times the adjustment, his whatever alignment was out of place. Your muscles, kind of get used to that, and then you get adjusted, it's back in place, and now your muscles have to readjust. So he was a little bit sore, but then the next day, it was starting to get better, and all week long it just got better and better as he loosened up. And then the following weekend, I went with Rory Miller to Colorado, and I told him this, and he said, "Oh yes, I call that non-consensual martial readjustment."
That's awesome. I
That's
call
a
those
great
kind of
name.
guys, I call them action figures, because they're super buff, but you can't really move their arms or limbs around too much. But
Yeah.
yeah, breaking those guys in, making them flexible, that's always fun.
Yep. Like that, Tim? Non-consensual martial adjustment.
Really, you need a patent on that.
Well,
Copyright.
Rory is a
That's his
writer.
thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, Rory.
back in the days, judo practitioners were also chiropractors, or was at least the
Oh,
Mishtas. Most old masters were also very versed in the health department. So I think this non-consensual readjustment, we lost it, and now we rediscovering it.
It's reemerged.
Yeah.
Well, in Tai Chi, my Sifu is actually he's ninth dan in I can't remember if it's Goju-Ryu or Shaolin Goju, but anyway, he's ninth dan, and he's also seventh dan in my same Okinawan Kempo and Kobudo under Sensei Dean, under Joe Sensei's dad, and he has other high-ranking black belts. I can't even remember what, and he's in his early to mid 60s, and he's got into the Tai Chi obviously for the health, but he's into the healing, and especially my friend Jeremy, who I mentioned earlier, who's pretty much the same, has a lot of the same rankings as Sifu Larry. He's ninth dan, and I can't remember which style, seventh dan in my same Okinawan Kempo and Kobudo, and he's into the healing as well. And so yeah, that's the older masters. I think once you've broken bodies for a long time, for decades, you start wanting to heal them. I don't know if that's what's going on. We do hold healing seminars once or twice a year. We haven't had one yet this year, but there is one older, not really that old martial artist who got to that point, I think in his 40s, that he was done breaking bodies and is now spending the rest of his life healing. And it's just really amazing. And at these seminars, half the people there are martial artists, the other half are healers. And it's great getting everybody together and exchanging ideas and exchanging energy. And they're really cool. I'm going to see Jeremy on Monday. I'm going to tell him we need to get other one of these seminars going because we haven't had one this year yet.
Yeah, I can see where after years of destroying people, you wanna be able to put someone back together. But I mean, after many years of doing that and seeing how people recover from certain injuries and the experience of what worked for this person, what worked for this person, you do build a knowledge base on and tips to give people on how to fix certain parts of the body. I remember karate. We were doing fighting with takedowns, and it was new because I remember I remember a bunch of new guys coming in, and they wanted to do ground fighting too. So small guy going against a super overweight, muscle bound guy. He was overweight due to muscle, but he was just kind of round too. But he tried to swing on me, and I got behind him and I jumped on his neck, and I yelled like Xena Warrior Princess, and he fell down, and he dislocated his shoulder.
Oh.
And I was like, oh no, I'm sorry. So after he did that, my instructor popped it back in, and I was like 1 foot away, so I was watching to see exactly how he did it. And I saw him do it a couple more times, and I finally did it once to someone myself. And I was like, okay, all right. Probably should have took some classes on this, but we're gonna just go with it. But you do build that little base of how to fix certain things when someone gets hurt.
Do any of you do any kind of meditations or anything for healing?
No, I roll my injured body parts on like frozen water bottles and whatnot for minutes at a time, but I do that when I'm barely waking up, so I'm still fresh mind. You could say it's meditation, but if I'm just meditation is like when you just focus on one thing and just clear your mind. I'll do that, and that'll wake me up, especially with my body being on something cold. But that's about it.
To you?
I only do play music or go swim to meditate. Well, that's my kind of meditation.
So I'm doing some meditation. Oh, hold on, my husband is calling me. Um, hopefully he'll leave a voice message. So I've been doing some kind of I've been doing some meditations to for healing, and it's been really helping a lot, especially my knee. I've been doing embryonic breathing and bone breathing, and a few other meditations, but those are the most healing, especially the bone breathing. And they also have some sort of iron shirt type abilities. Eric Sensei can withstand a blood choke for 20 seconds, and which is
Oh,
pretty
geez.
impressive. It's not forever. It's not going to make you impervious to chokes, but 20 seconds on a blood choke is really impressive.
Yeah,
And
it gives you an edge.
yeah, and I'm starting to be able to do this not for that long. I think I'm up to maybe like 10 seconds now, and I was able last Monday to break a triangle. I was able to withstand the guy. I started when I felt the triangle start to go on. I of course immediately started to counter, but I did the iron shirt type breathing long enough, and it kept me going long enough to be able to break the triangle. And then later, I was rolling with my coach, and he got me, and I don't probably a rear naked or something. And he kind of, to be nice because I'm still newish, he puts it on slowly, gives you kind of a chance. And I could tell by the passage of time that I was getting to be toward the end of the round. And plus, toward the end of the round, he's going to start putting it on hard to make you tap right before the round is over. And a couple of weeks ago, I tapped just as the bell rang. And I was like, oh, I honestly thought I had another half a second to a second left. So this time, I'm not saying I was at the point where I'd rather nap than tap, but I was almost there. I knew there's 5 seconds left. I thought I could probably hold up long enough, and I did. And I managed to make it to the bell. And when he let me go, he smiled and said, "Good job." And I was like, "Yes, I'm finally getting at least that part of it." But that's from meditating, and that's from doing the bone breathing. So I'm looking forward to doing this, continuing to do this for not only my knee, but also for the iron shirt effect.
Oh yeah, meditating helps a lot. It's like before fighters or before you go out to do a fight or something like that, you're extremely nervous. You have so much in your mind. When you meditate, even if you're about to go take a test for school, if you meditate, it helps your almost like recover your willpower for that portion of that time. Because no matter what you've done all day, you are cutting away at your willpower and you are getting mentally drained. Meditating will help you think sharper and clearer, especially in those high pressure situations. But yeah, blood chokes are no fun.
The first time when I did it to Eric, he was like, "Hey, you want to see something kind of freaky?" And I'm like, "Okay." And so he put on a heavy gi, and he's like, do a cross choke on me, and see how long I can hold it. And so he was in my guard, so he's on top of me, and so I put on the choke pretty hard, and he starts doing that, that special breathing to withstand it. And after about 7 seconds, that was cool. After about 12 seconds, that was pretty impressive. After about 15 seconds, his face turned red and his veins are popping out. His eyes are starting to bulge out. And he kind of reminded me of toward the end of Total Recall, the original Arnold Schwarzenegger version. That's kind of what he looked like.
They're blowing up, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, okay, he probably only has a second or two left. And I realized that his brother wasn't home, so we were like the only two people in the house. And he was on top of me. And when he passed out, I would have 170 pounds of dead weight on top of me, and that dead weight is my sensei. And I wasn't okay with that. so I released the choke, and he's like, "Why'd you release me?" I said, "Because you had about a second or two left." And he said, "But I had a second or two left." It was like, I'm not okay with you being passed out on top of me when we're the only two people in the house. And he's like, oh man, okay, well, whatever. I said I would have recovered. I'm like, you know what? I'm still just not okay with that.
Also, that reminds
And
me.
then
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say you're if you get back into swimming hardcore, you'll get your body used to holding your breath a lot longer too. So that helps out in grappling as well.
Yeah. My kid is a saxophonist, and he has crazy lungs, as I'm sure you can imagine. And when we
Hmm.
used to go swimming together, I mean, he could just hold his breath forever. It seems. What I was going to say is, a couple weeks ago at the women's self-defense class, we were demonstrating a gi choke, and I can't remember why he wanted. Oh, yeah, I was like, well, why don't I didn't. It was gi choke where I was on top and I was choking him, and I don't know how we or why we got into that position. It didn't feel particularly strong, and I have small hands, and so I was like, I do we think I could actually hold this if I was doing this in a real fight? And he said, I don't know, I'll fight back. And we kind of didn't realize we had gone off the side, and this is my friend Jay was leading the class, so we kind of didn't realize other people were watching us because we thought they were watching him. But I got the choke on him, and I was like, I'm not going to let you go until you tap, and if you take a nap, that's on you, because we've had this conversation since that other time. And he's like, okay, that's fine. And so I, I put the choke on him. He's trying to fight back, and I'm choking him out. And I think he tapped after about 10 seconds. He didn't want to make it too unrealistic, because most people can't hold a blood choke for 20 seconds. But it did still kind of get a little bit gruesome, and he finally tapped, and I let him go. And that's when there were gasps from everybody who was watching. We're like, oh yeah, maybe we should have warned you guys that we were going to do that. But yeah, that was fun. So if that happens again in a women's self-defense class, and especially now that he and I are going to be teaching it, um, yeah, we will totally warn them that this is going to look a little bit on the gruesome side, but I swear it's okay. We do this.
That's good though. That's put some fear in their hearts. Oh, that's fun.
Well, it's good. There's a story that I posted on Facebook. It was from a few years ago. It's the most severe women's self-defense story that I've ever heard. This woman's estranged husband hired a hitman to kill her. She ended up killing him. And
Oh man.
she could have won the fight in the first 2 minutes. She got him in a choke, and first of all, I'm going to say she's had self-defense training. She's a nurse. And so the hospital put her through self-defense training. So she knew how to do this stuff. She's not a martial artist, but she has some really good self-defense training. So in about 2 minutes, she estimates she got him in a choke. And I mean, choking is kind of gruesome. And so she freaked out and let him go. And she was like, who are you? Why are you attacking me? And he just came at her, with deadly force at that point. The fight went on for another 12 to 13 minutes. She finally got him in another choke and choked him out and killed him. She had hit him in the head with a hammer a few times by this point. But anyway, the reason I'm saying this is it might not be a bad idea at some point, maybe in our self-defense classes that we're starting to develop, maybe for me to do this to him to show that if, God forbid, you ever do get attacked and you have to do this, choking is kind of gruesome, and we can demonstrate it without actually hurting him because he knows how to do this. That's probably too much for most people, though, don't you think? You probably shouldn't do that.
What I was going to say is, I think it's highly beneficial for your students to actually watch someone being choked. So they have had this experience before a real life experience.
Do you think do you think we should actually do that demonstration? And for our listeners who don't know what's going on, so I have a friend named Jay who's been teaching women's self-defense for a few years, and I've been helping him out from time to time. And he's moving to California, and so he's turning his system over to he first, to me and to some of the other assistant instructors. And I said, I believe very strongly we need to have a man, because we're all women. We need to have a man to pressure test the students that give realistic attacks. And I nominate my sensei, Eric Sensei. And so Eric Sensei came and met with Jay and some of the other instructors, and perfect fit. Jay loves him, And so we've been having a few classes of kind of a transition. Jay's still leading it, so Eric Sensei and I can see what he's doing, and but he's still leading the class. And then we go off the side, or sometimes we've been taking some students off to the side to work on certain things. And so that's done now. Jay is moving to California before the next class, which is going to be in early to mid September. So Eric Sensei and I now have about 3.5 weeks to take what Jay's done. He gave us a really great foundation and make it our own. So I've been kind of thinking aloud here, what should we be doing? And is this something, since we have this ability to do this, to demonstrate? And you're saying it is?
Yeah, I definitely am.
I will talk to Eric Sensei and see what he thinks about that. But especially because of that other woman's experience, she got the guy in a choke and freaked out because it's gruesome.
Yeah. And to prevent them from freaking out, it's very good if you can show them.
Yeah, and since he can, because of the meditations and everything, withstand a choke for a crazy amount of time. Yeah, I'll talk to him about that. Thank you.
So in work, I have had many people passing out in front of me or having a seizure and stuff like that. And every first time freaked me out completely, and I wasn't able to help them or do anything positive for them. And yeah, experiencing this over and over again over the years made me used to it, and that's good. And that's the thing that should happen to students in self-defense too, because they freaking out in a life situation is possible deadly. So if you're able to give them information, it's highly health beneficial.
Yeah, I will bring that up with them. Is Jeff back, or?
Oh, okay.
He says he can hear us, but that's it. We should probably wrap up anyway. I gotta get going to work.
Okay.
Since you are our physiotherapist, is there anything that you want to... Is there anything that we missed? I mean, we've kind of gone the gamut here.
Not really, because in a nutshell, martial arts increases every attribute on the physical side. Cardiovascular system, nervous system, muscles, organs, blah, blah, blah. So we touched on everything and had great stories about different conditions and how they turned out in a beneficial way. So I think we covered almost everything.
Cool. I think the others have dropped. The only thing I would want to add is on the cardio side, since you said that. Again, the jiu-jitsu is just really rigorous, and when we roll live, I mean, it's 2-minute rounds, and we have more students coming, which means I've been out fewer rounds, and my coach likes to turn up the heat in there really high, and it's really rigorous, but I'm gotten stronger, and it's the first month I was doing it, I mean, I was almost dying, and now it's difficult, but I'm doing it. And then when I went to Colorado last month with Rory, there was a moment when we had been, it was stand-up grappling, but we were fighting pretty hard for a while. And then we all stopped, and Rory kind of pointed to me and said, we low altitude people need to rest. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm used to this. Give me like 20 seconds to catch my breath, and I'm ready to fight again. Now, in Rory's defense, he was recovering from a combination of some sort of foodborne illness that was made worse by altitude. A couple days before the seminar, he ate something bad and was sick for a couple of days. So, I mean, in Rory's defense, I think that he was still suffering from that. But I was like, nah, I'm good. I can catch my breath in 20 seconds. I'm ready to go again.
Yeah, and the stamina thing is very good in jiu-jitsu. I was forced to do my work on to visit patients at home and stuff. I had to use a bike for the last 4 weeks. So I rode my bike for 60 to 90 kilometers a day. A client of mine invited me to a Brazilian jiu-jitsu class here in town, and I said, yes, cool. And I thought, well, I've been bike riding for 4 weeks now. My stamina should be pretty good at the moment. It was a 2 hour class.
Oh my
I felt
God.
like dying after the first 30 minutes. I was like, okay, put me in the corner. I keep watching, but I'm done here. I don't know how I survived the 2 hours, but this was great. It was a very great experience.
Yeah, I'm getting really
And
good at fighting when I feel horrible because of that, and also when I go to jujitsu, I'm usually fasting. I'm usually fasting by the time I get there, 14 or 15 hours. Come home, shower, then I go to Tai Chi, come home, and then I break the fast. And today I did the Kobudo class while fasting, and I actually felt really good. I couldn't believe it. But I'm getting used to fighting when I feel horrible. And in jiu-jitsu, because I only get to go 1 day a week, I don't want to sit out very many rounds. And there have been times when, somebody didn't pick me as a partner, and I'm like, no, you're fighting me right now because I only get to do this 1 day a week, and I don't want to sit out another round. And I feel terrible, and I'm, exhausted because I train almost exclusively with men who are twice my size and way more experienced than I am. But if I get attacked, it's not going to be when I'm feeling good. When I get attacked, it's going to be when I'm feeling sick and horrible. So I'm fighting and training under those conditions so I can get used to fighting like that.
yeah, that's a good point. You need to be able to fight in any condition.
Yep.
I think an instructor I know proposed the idea to simulate a disco, a dance club.
Oh,
He said, well, yeah, we need to get a little drunk for this.
yeah.
I was like, okay, I know where you're going with this, but for me, the risk of injury is way too high. So I'm like getting two to three glasses of rum and coke, and I thought, well, no, I would lose too much of control to do some drugs with anybody without hurting people.
I'll tell you the story about the night after I broke Beverly's nose. I mean, I broke it during the daytime and during Rory Miller's seminar. And that night there was a party at the dojo, and she had quite a lot of whiskey. And at some point, I think about 9 o'clock at night, all the non-martial artists left, and there were only us martial artists remaining in the dojo. And people started pairing up to spar. And there were these two guys, the first two to start sparring, and we were watching them. And Beverly was quite a bit drunk, and her face wasn't bruised up yet. And we had a doctor on site, so when I broke her nose, he just set it for her and sent her back out to keep training. And so, and those two guys were fighting weren't there. So she's watching them. She's like, I want in on this. And she jumps them with a broken nose. She jumps two men. And one of them stepped out so she could fight the other guy who was like a foot taller than she is. And her face was not bruised up at all. Her nose, if you didn't know what it looked like before it was broken, looked pretty normal. She doesn't have a huge nose to begin with, and it was swollen, but you couldn't really tell if you don't know what she looked like beforehand. And so the guy she was fighting did an inside crescent kick to the side of her head and knocked her to the ground. And I was like, oh my God, because from where I was standing, I couldn't see if he hit her nose with his foot. And so she's on the ground on all fours. I'm like, oh my God, is she okay? And she used to do capoeira back in the day. So from the ground, she does a handstand side kick to his floating ribs, jumps up, and keeps fighting him. Like, and Rory and I were looking at each other like, oh my God. And I was like, lady, I broke your nose the first time. If you re-break it tonight, that's on you. I'm done. And as I was leaving, she was in the bathroom with the doctor resetting her nose.
Oh my God.
I know. That was pretty awesome.
And I think with that, we have found a very good end for this episode.
Cool. Well, that was fun. I'm sorry we had people drop out, including me for a short time, but it was fun. Yeah, I hope our listeners didn't drop out. I hope our listeners had fun listening to this and learned something and got some encouragement to keep training or to begin training.
If you are in training and listening to this, you definitely should get started training because, like we said today, you get a lot of health benefits, and like we talked about a little off topic, you also learn how to save your own life, which is also highly beneficial to your health status. So with this, we conclude today's episode. Please like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube if you liked what you have been watching and hearing today. So, see you later. Goodbye.
Bye, man. Thank you.